What's up, fight fans, and welcome back to the KJ MMA Show. I'm your host, Garrett Kerman, and with me, as always, is my man, Ryan Jarrell. What's up, man? How's it going?
What's up, man? It's going well. Happy to be back in UFC 270. I think it delivered. What would you say? Are you happy with the turnout of the fights?
I thought so. I mean, on paper, it didn't look great, but they delivered. I mean, even the fighters that most people didn't really know, a lot of the contender series fighters, they all delivered. Each and every one of them. So I thought it was a great fight card. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardcore fans really liked it because we got to see an evolution of Francis Ngannou. He's not just a striker now. He was able to, change it up and surprise Cyril Gane, and win a tough fight coming into it with an injury. So I feel like Francis Ngannou is just getting better and better. And I mean, you could see how frustrated Gane was as we got into rounds 3, 4, and 5, and Francis being able to just kind of like use his strength to dictate where the fight takes place. So I thought it was interesting. What I'm really intrigued about now is to see what he's going to do next. Is he going to, re-sign with the UFC and defend his belt? We're going to have to wait a little while because he just had his surgery. He's going to be out. And there's all these rumors about him fighting Tyson Fury. I mean, that would just be a money grab. I think Tyson Fury would absolutely kill him in a boxing match. As much power and as dangerous as Francis is, I mean, Tyson Fury has a significantly longer reach, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, he's just one of the best boxers. Period. I mean, I don't think it would go well for Francis. But the good news for him is he's got the world at his feet. He's going to be able to make the best decision for him and his family moving forward. And I'm excited to see what it is.
Yeah, it was a very impressive performance. No one, I can say nobody went in there thinking he was gonna go and pretty much just out wrestle Gon. And
Yeah.
not just out wrestle him, he out wrestled him in rounds 3, 4, and 5, where all of his cardio, he needed every ounce of that little bit of cardio that he has left in every round, to get that win. So it was very, very impressive. I heard some interviews with Ngannou saying in between rounds 3 and 4, he saw himself when he was facing Stipe, in Gon's corner. He's like, that was me. That was me when I faced Stipe. And he's like, from then on, I knew it was all over. I mean, that's pretty telling when you're in there with
Yeah.
another human being and you're pretty much just broken another man. That was very impressive.
Yeah, and what I want to see next is I want to see Stipe and Gon. I want to see what's going to happen with that fight. I mean, John Jones, who knows what's going to transpire with him? He's clearly in the mix because of how big his name is. But I mean, the former champion Stipe, and let's face it, he's the greatest UFC heavyweight champion that we've ever seen. And he's back. He's going to be fighting for a number one contendership spot or a title, depending on what transpires here. But I'm just happy to see all these other matchups because the heavyweight division is deep. There's some other competitors that are going to be right there, so a lot of matchups to be made. But as far as the co-main event, the 125-pound title, I don't think it could have been any better for us fight fans because Garrett, we get to see a fourth fight between these two, right? I mean, does it get any better than that?
We would hope we get a fourth fight, and everybody's speculating that they could move on from this. Nobody, and there's people talking how they don't want to see another one of this. It's going to be more of the same. But like, who and why do you care? It's more of the same because it's amazing. The fight every single time is amazing. It gets better and better and better. These guys are absolute studs. They're warriors, and this fight every time they fight is just you're glued to your seats and you want to watch it. It doesn't really matter how many times they fight. It's a great fight every single time. And it was a tooth and nail biter, all the way to the end. And I knew it was going to be a really close fight going in. I do think Moreno kind of edged it a little bit, but at the end of the day, I'm not complaining about the decision at all. I'm kind of complaining about the judging in particular when it comes to which rounds they gave Figueiredo, because they somehow gave round 4 to Figueiredo and round 5 to Moreno. Whereas if I feel like you're gonna, give any 3 rounds, I feel like you would have to give him the 5th round, right?
I at the end of the day, I think the right guy won because Figueredo had the bigger moments. You know what I mean? Like he knocked him down. I think those knockdowns, was it 2 or 3 times that he knocked him down?
I think he knocked him down twice in round 3 and once in round 5.
Yeah, so I mean, those big moments right there steal the rounds for me because otherwise there was just it was pretty even. You know, like the whole fight was like really even
It was.
outside of those big moments. So for me, I thought the right guy won. But to me, it's a no brainer. You're making this fourth fight.
Yes.
That's the fight that we're making next. 100%. No matter, maybe they drag it out a little while, give them some time to rest, recover, and they do it in the summertime or fall. But like the division, like who else is going to compete with these two guys right now? Can you think of anyone? Because I can't.
I like Askar Askarov. I think he's
Mm,
a legitimate dark horse in the division. I mean, he went to a draw against Moreno when they fought. Um, and then Kaikar France is really on the up and up. I know he beat Cody Garbrandt. He was first time in 125, but he's looked a lot better since his last loss against Moreno. I believe that was his last. No, against Royval. He looked a
mm.
lot better since that last loss. So I don't know, but at the end of the day, the two best is Moreno and Figueiredo. Period.
Yeah,
They are
that's
at the top, and then you got the little tier below
yeah.
them.
That's exactly how I feel. So that's just my whole point. I feel like the fourth fight has to happen. The fans want it to happen. I just feel like it's a no brainer. But outside of the main and co-main, because those are the two big fights that the fans were just clamoring for. I want to give you a couple of guys that really stood out to me. Obviously, Syed Nurmagomedov with his quick finish of Cody Stamann. I mean, Cody Stamann is a very, very tough guy, so that is a really nice feather in his cap. But I'm telling you right now, Garrett, the guy for me that I was just like, wow, this guy, this guy could be a star. And his opponent came in on short notice, so some people might disagree with me, because like the quality of opponent wasn't a high level fighter. He was supposed to be fighting Alves, but I'm talking about Jack Della Maddalena. This guy has got me excited, man. I think he is legit as it gets. I feel like he's going to get right into the top 15 quickly. And this guy could be a future champion. He's young. He's very polished. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I saw him on the Contender Series, and my lord, that dude striking was incredible. Then
Yeah,
he looked incredible in his UFC debut. I know, granted, it was against the highest level of opponent, but he will get there over time. But the way he's able to mix it up between the body and the head, and it's just very, very good. And there's not many legit strikers at 170. I know we got people that got a lot of power, obviously, but this dude's got legit technical striking abilities as
yeah,
well. So I'm really looking forward to see where he goes from here. He's one of those Australian fighters, so those dudes come to
yeah.
fight. You got Hooker. Hooker is fighting coming up on the England card against Arnold Allen. So Izzy's coming up in a few weeks as well against Robert Whitaker. Blood Diamond too from those New Zealand boys. You got a lot of them. A lot of them out there. So those dudes come to bang, and I'm looking forward to Madalena and see what transpires coming forward.
Yeah, man, me too. Our boy Tony Gravely got the win. I'll tell you what,
Yes, yes,
his opponent came to fight. Talk about a tough, gritty fighter. And I talked to Gravely a little bit afterwards. He's happy with the win over a tough guy, but he's a little disappointed that he couldn't get the finish. So I'm sure we'll have him back on the show again soon. But Gravely looked good. Matt Steamroller Frivola, holy
yes.
smokes, man. The
Steamroller is right.
the pace that he put on for that fight. I mean, if that got out of the first round, I would have liked to have seen what both of their gas tanks looked like in round two because they just put it all out there. That was a crazy, crazy fight.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that one too because I knew those two were going to go back and forth and pretty much throw down in the center. I didn't expect really many grappling exchanges, and I know a lot of people were thinking Frivola's chin is completely gone after his last fight, but if you really looked at it, he's only lost by knockout twice in his UFC career, and he's fought some legit competition. So I knew he was going to come in there as a dog like he always does, and throw down like he did. and it was very, very impressive to finally see him get back into the win column.
So did I tell you about my DraftKings story from UFC 270?
No, you got to share with us.
Okay, so I put in a $20 bet. I took Ngannou, I took Figueiredo, I took Madalena, I took Frivola, and I'm trying to think who else I took. It's neither here nor there, but I was right in the big money throughout the whole event, and this is a $20 buy-in. 23.5 thousand entries were in here, and I finished 91st.
Damn, so
I
close.
I was literally I was one different fighter away from $55,000.
Oh my lord.
I ended up winning a few hundred, but man, oh man, I was pretty discouraged because when you're on the hook to win that much money, you want to win it.
Oh yeah,
And
of course.
yeah, so it was kind of like a giant letdown. I think if Francis would have knocked out Gone, who knows what would have happened. I think maybe it would have jolted me up a little bit further, but I was right there, man. It was just such a tease. It was such a tease.
I've been there, done that, man. I mean, I got into that close. I was one fight away, and the last fighter I lost on was Michel Pereira when he illegally kneed
Oh,
Diego Sanchez. I'm like, there's just no way this happens to me. I needed
brutal.
this. He was about to finish him or at least win, and then he goes and does that. I'm like, oh my god. But
Brutal. Well,
yeah.
the good thing is that there's always more UFC cards to bet on, which both of us will clearly be doing. But right now, Garrett, we have our guest of the show today, a
Yes.
winner at UFC 270, Vanessa Demopoulos, up next. All right, and here she is, Vanessa Demopoulos, on the show now after an impressive win at UFC 270 this past weekend. Vanessa, how are you?
I'm awesome. How are you guys?
Good, good. It's nice to see you, and we want to start with just everything that transpired after she caught you. Obviously, she landed that big shot. You got dropped. Ultimately, you got the submission victory. So just run us through that whole process, everything that transpired there.
Whew, that was a lot. It was a lot that had happened, and it was like so cool, because like I'm there and like I'm fighting and I'm on the feet. I'm like, and like I go to throw a kick, and then like boom, like now I'm grappling, and I lost all that space in between. So like it wasn't like I got hurt. Like I didn't know that that had happened. Like all of a sudden I'm doing jujitsu and I'm just in my happy place. Yeah, that's how that transpired.
Were you ever really hurt? Like, did she? I mean, because it looked like a clean shot, but you looked like you recovered pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess like, of course I was hurt because it's like I lost that time, but it's like I didn't feel the punch. I didn't see the punch. And next thing I know, I'm doing jujitsu. So like I'm just so happy to be doing jujitsu, like that. Yeah, I just like lived in that moment versus like what had happened, but I didn't realize that anything had actually happened. Like I was just doing jujitsu.
So
Does that make any sense? I know that like it sounds a little like weird, but like does it make any sense to you guys? Like
Totally, totally. I'm god
okay.
awful at jujitsu, but that's a story for another day. So, as far as the game plan going into this fight with Wars, did you have a game plan, or are you just going to kind of go in there and see how the matchup transpired?
No. The game plan was getting her to the ground, and getting the chance to grapple. So it really was like, getting her to the cage or wrestling out in the open, like getting my hands on her, being able to take the fight to the ground because that's like where I'm always most at home. And yeah, getting the opportunity to use some of that world-class jujitsu. So we did exactly that. It's just the getting there part was the part that surprised everybody, including myself.
Garrett, do you have anything here?
No, yeah, I just was, it was a very impressive win there. Knowing that you were going to go up against like a legit striker, and that I was wondering, like, what changes did you make in your camp that made you such a success in, your first UFC win?
Thank you. The biggest changes were definitely going over to Fight Ready in Phoenix, Arizona. So, as It's like a lot of the champions have been going over there recently, but I got there before that had started to truly transpire. And I went there for Santino DeFranco, who is world class coach right there. You know, you have Eddie Cha, you have Angel Cejudo, like Henry Cejudo's brother, like he's our wrestling coach. I mean, man, like the list goes on, you know, like Alan Veers, who's like been the boxing coach for a lot of the other champions and stuff. Like I was just I saw the talent and the coaching that was there. And when I showed up, I just had no idea how they were going to truly transform me in my mindset as a fighter. And it's just been an amazing experience.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, touch a base on that. You know, you're now fighting, you know, training at a Fight Ready. Like a lot of these guys are, you know, Davis Figueiredo. Look at what he done, you know, against Brandon Moreno.
Mhm.
See how great of a shape he was in. Were you able to get some of that, you know, work in with Nero Force One for your strength and conditioning?
Yeah, I do my strength and conditioning with a separate coach, so Warrior Sports Wellness, and I feel like I get excellent conditioning in. I've actually like I broke like the record for the VO2 max on being able to like go into the deep waters. So I've been working a lot on my recovery and being able to truly like maximize all of this horsepower that I have. And my coach has really been helping me out a lot with that over at Warrior Sports Wellness.
So you made your UFC debut at 125. This fight was at 115. Is that going to be the weight class moving forward, or could we see you bounce back and forth?
Nah, that's never not been my weight class. I am a 115er. I am a strawweight. I went up to 25, and like I'm a bigger strawweight man. Like I walk around, you know, like around like, you know, 31, 33, 35 if I've been eating a lot of pizza. But generally like, and that's me being like really in shape too. You know, that's me like really focused on my fitness. And so fighting at 25 wasn't so far fetched, but it's not the weight class I belong in. I'm a 115er for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned pizza. That's my weakness 100% too. So what's the go-to
The
when you're
pizza.
done? Yeah, oh yeah, big time. So what is the go-to for you like after a fight, after a win? I mean, this was your first UFC win, so I imagine you celebrated with some good za. Where did you go?
Man, where was I? I was in LA and I ended up going over to Newport Beach, and there was like some amazing pizza that was like right there on the beach that I rocked out with. But yeah, I love pizza. Honestly, I've been eating a lot of steak recently, so it's like I can eat steak when I'm cutting weight, but like I've just been going in, man. And like some like creamy potatoes, some good stuff. I ate a lot of gummy bears, like a lot of like, and I'm like, man, my stomach hurts today from all the gummy bears I ate. It's dope. I love it. Yeah, and I just got back from Tulum, so there was like a lot of really cool Mexican food going on. I like food, man. I like food.
No, no, I mean, who doesn't like food, right? I mean, so you know, Vanessa, one of my favorite moments of UFC
Mhm.
270 was your post-fight interview with Joe Rogan. So just run me through your emotions and you know what you were feeling, because Joe Rogan obviously it's a big deal. So just
Yeah.
elaborate a little bit more on what transpired there.
Oh my God, he's Joe Rogan. Yes. I mean, you know, so like I mean, it was like, yeah, like that. And then like he snuck up on me, by the way, if y'all didn't see that part. Like I was like looking this way and he came from that way. I think he did that on purpose. But it's like, okay, so like one is Joe Rogan, but two, really like the magnitude of getting the opportunity to be interviewed from Joe Rogan, you know? So it's like you that means that you won your fight. That means that you're on a pay-per-view card in the UFC. So it's like you're in the biggest organization on one of the biggest events and doing something so like amazing, you know, which is winning in front of a crowd. Like that moment was like the magnitude of like what I was feeling and some all the excitement and everything. And I mean, on top of me just like being like a crazy ball of energy all the time. You know, like just I can't even like explain like how awesome it was. But if what I just said was an explanation, then that's how I felt.
You think there's any chance that maybe we're going to see you on his podcast at some point in the near future?
I mean, you better, like, someone let this dude know, man. Like, send him some DMs, tell him Lil Monster's trying to get on the podcast, and do that. Yes, I want to be on Joe Rogan's podcast. Like, how do we make this happen? Someone talk to me.
Yeah, you and everyone else in the world. I mean, wow, what an enormous podcast that would be to be on. I mean, it's number one in the world,
Oh,
right, Garrett?
totally.
Yeah, you're right. It is number one in the world.
Yeah.
Largest one there is by far.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? That's pretty awesome.
Definitely a big deal. So, Vanessa, UFC 270, obviously Figueiredo was training at your camp there in Arizona. Did you get a chance to kick back and watch the co-main and main event at all? And tell me what were your so did you think that Figueiredo won? Because it was a close fight.
It was a close fight, but I did think that Figueroa won fairly. And I think that, like, there was a lot of knockdowns that had happened. And let me say, I do love Brandon Moreno. You know, I think that he is an amazing person. And I think that, and obviously Figgy's been my teammate throughout this camp. So it's like, man, just watching that fight, I was like excited. I was excited for the fight in general. So knowing that, like, Figgy was like inching in each round, like just inching and inching. I think he lost like the second round for sure. But man, like the fight just like it happened and I was just so excited, you know, and it was just such a good fight, like from both ends. Like it was so exciting. It's like crazy to think that they might be fighting a fourth time consecutively, 5-round fights, 4 in a row. Like that's just craziness to me. But it was such a good fight. It's like, why wouldn't you want to see that again? You know, like that's like deserving, like for sure.
Oh, 100%. A fourth fight has to happen. And I did want to get your take on the main event. Obviously, the heavyweight title fight between Francis Ngannou, Cyril Gane. It went just how I predicted. I said Francis was going to take him down and wrestle him for all 5 rounds. I'm kidding. I think nobody saw
I
that
was like,
coming,
did you
right?
see that happening? I didn't see that happening, but I watched it happen. And I was like, oh my God, that is so much body being moved around. Like it was crazy.
So clearly no one expected that. I mean, as you know, a fight fan watching that fight,
Yeah.
what do you think about just Ngannou's evolution as a fighter? Because clearly he's only been known as a striker previous to just recently.
Yeah, I mean, wow, like I was blown away. Like no one saw that coming, you know, like I'm just like he's got like what? Like he's grappling. Oh, okay, jujitsu. And you know that Cyril Gane's got submissions as well, you know. So I thought that that was such a bold move for him to like want to take it to the ground, but he did such a good job at controlling him. And like those were real slams, like the power that Ngannou has to have to be able to just pick him up like it was nothing, man. Like it was a bag of groceries. Like, oh my gosh, like that was just cool. It was so cool. Like I was shook. You know, I'm watching it and I'm watching and I couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was dope. It was super dope.
So, if you were Francis Ngannou, right? We'll play a little funny, what if game. If you were in his position right now, and obviously he's getting this ACL surgery, he's going to be out for a little while. But there's so many options for him. I mean, he could re-sign with the UFC, but he's not happy, clearly from what we're hearing. And then there's these major boxing matchups that could happen with Tyson Fury, where he could make millions of dollars. If you were in his shoes, what would you do?
Man, and it's funny because like even like leading up to that fight, like I was like, oh, Ngannou needs to get his head in the game, you know, like not that he wasn't, I don't know him personally at all. But it was like, you know, you have all of this other attention and he's saying things like, well, I'm never gonna fight for this amount of money ever again. And it's like, man, like you have a UFC title fight that's happening, and I heard that like a lot of craziness was going on in that camp. And for him to be able to have won that fight all 5 rounds in spectacular fashion, mind you. He has so much talent, you know, and he has so much skill, and he truly is worth so much. But I think that, like, you know, he does deserve everything that he's asking for, and it is hard to like say like, oh, I'm not going to go and fight for millions of dollars, and instead, where I only have to focus on one art form versus putting all of these art forms together. We essentially have to be a specialist in 5 different art forms just to do one martial art, you know, MMA. So it's just really wild, like it almost seems like a given opportunity to take a boxing fight for millions of dollars. But I think that he's just so talented. Like he has so many options. He just fought with a freaking broken ACL and won.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about here? Like that was insane. So, and it's not fair that he's not getting what he believes that he's worth, because like he is worth the world. But I don't understand where the hangup is there, and he talks a lot about how, the fighters get put on a shelf essentially, and how like their income gets like dwindled out. So they almost get forced to fight. But I feel like that's also a little bit of responsibility on the athletes as well. Like we get paid so much money. Like, what are you doing with your money to be able to create and generate more income so that you don't have to worry about these types of situations? Neither here nor there. But yeah, I feel like we just have so much opportunity. Like, it's silly of me to want to complain, and also like I'm new to the job. So like, don't get me fired, guys. I like my job, okay?
We
Dana,
wouldn't dream of
I
it.
appreciate my pay.
So what is next for you? I mean, are you hoping to get back in the octagon as soon as possible? When are we, when can we plan to see you back in there next?
Man, I don't know. I'm looking forward to training, and I'm looking forward to all of that. I know that my manager is really working to try to put some things together. I want to fight at least like 3 to 4 times this year. So that means get my butt back in the octagon sometime soon for sure.
Well, you're clearly out west right now in Arizona because it's bright and sunny, and I'm back in New England. It's dark and cold. It was like -20 this morning, so I'm a little jealous
No.
of where you're at. But are you going to be going back home to Cleveland and free
Mhm.
your butt off? Or are you going to be staying out there in sunny Arizona here for the near future?
Well, I'll sprinkle some sunshine in your direction since you need it. But I kind of plan on staying out here for a little bit. I'm actually going to be going to freezing Canada sometime soon. So Luby Godinez is going to be getting ready for her fight on May 7th. And she's just dope. She's just awesome. And so I'm going to go out and train with her and have some good vibes, some good fun, and some good training.
Very cool. Loopy is she's a great fighter and a great interview too. So any names for who you want next? Is there anybody that you have your eyes on, or do you not even care?
No, I don't care right now. Yeah, definitely something I'm just letting my manager play things out for sure. Yeah, I'm not an expert, man. I just fight.
Okay, very good. Well, that's pretty much it for me, Garrett. Do you have anything for Vanessa before we let her go?
I was actually muted. I'm sorry about that, but no, I'm actually good on my end. We appreciate you coming on the show with us. Speaking out about your UFC debut win in a very impressive fashion, might I add.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I'm still like so pumped about it. I'm still so excited. It's like it just happened a few days ago, and like I blinked, and like now I get to talk to you guys. But it's like I don't know. I feel like I dreamt about it so much that like the fact that it actually happened, man, and so much cooler than I even dreamt about. It's like, like you dream about moments and they happen and you're like, whoa. And like, that's still how I feel. Yeah.
Well, you deserve it, and the future is clearly bright. Can't wait to see what is next for you, Vanessa. Before we do let you go, I want to give you the floor. Tell people where to follow you on social media, and if you have anyone to thank, the floor is yours.
Let's go. Lil Monster Demo on Instagram. Come through, say what's up. Huge shout out to Jason House at Iridium. My gosh, my guy. That manager is awesome, dude. Like, man, Jason works his butt off for us, and I could not appreciate him more. So I gotta show him love for sure. Everybody else, man, come to my social media. Let's party. Let's have some fun.
Awesome. Hey, thanks again for the time, Vanessa. Really appreciate it, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon. All right, another show is almost in the books. Vanessa Demopoulos, what a sweetheart she is. A great fighter, a great interview, and she really clearly seems to be a great person.
No, absolutely. I love her spirit. She's
Yeah.
an awesome person. And I was very happy with her performance. Happy to see her getting her first UFC win, and it kind of just lit her up, and it was great to see.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, no UFC cards this weekend. We do have Bellator 273, headlined by Ryan Bader and Valentin Moldavsky. Benson Henderson is the co-main event against Islam Mamedov. Got a few other good names on there. Henry Corrales is fighting. Sabah Humasi, Sayed Awad, our guy Dalton Rasta on the card. So some interesting fights and some bigger names on that card. So that will be an event that I'm sure I'll be watching on Showtime. Real quick, Garrett, who do you see winning that main event, Bader or Moldavsky? This is for the heavyweight title.
I think Modovsky's got it. I think he's, younger prospect on the rise. He's looked really good. I believe he's 13-0. He's good size frame. Should have about 10 to 15 pounds on Bader in this matchup. I do think he's more fluid on the feet, and I think he's got a good takedown defense to keep it that way, or use his offensive grappling himself and just wear on Bader. Bader, he's kind of getting older in age. He's 38 years old. I know he's much fresher at heavyweight. He's not having to cut down 25 pounds, but I don't know how his chin's going to be. He just got cracked. And even in fights before that, he hasn't looked great. He hasn't faced and beaten anybody really much younger than him in a while. He hasn't beaten a good prospect like Modovsky in a while. So I think it's going to be a really tough fight for him. Right now, the line is set at -265, and the comeback on Bader is +215. Not a lot of, value there, but I do think Modovsky is the right side. I do think he gets it done. I would like to parlay him and Islam Mamedov, because I think Mamedov is just going to be able to take down Benson Henderson and have his way on the mat, kind of like he did against Brett Primus, without the threat of getting submitted every 10 seconds like Primus was doing. I don't think Benson Henderson is much of a big threat off his back. So yeah, I like to parlay those two. You get -135, almost even odds. I think that's pretty good there. And if I'm going down the card a little bit more, Jaleel Willis is also a pretty good play on -220. I think we're getting good value on there. I think Sabah Hamasi is a little overrated. I do think he's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong, but I just think he's a little bit overrated. And I think Willis is a little bit better everywhere, especially when it comes to power and wrestling. So I think he could possibly get it done. And if you throw those three in a parlay together, it's +153. Yeah. Little plus money, $50 to win you some money. Some little pocket change. Not bad.
Well, you get your MMA itch taken care of, but with Bellator 273 this weekend, and then the UFC will be back the following weekend. But also this weekend, Garrett, we have the NFL Conference Championship game. Yes. So before we sign off here for this show, we'll do our picks here. I'll start first. I think the Rams are destined to make the Super Bowl. I know they lost most recently to the Niners, and the Niners are a really tough team. I really just don't trust Jimmy G. He always throws an interception. He makes some bad decisions at times, and I just feel like the Rams, after surviving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and getting that win, this is why they brought Matt Stafford in. So I think he's going to get the job done, and the Rams will advance. On the AFC side, as much as I want the Kansas City Chiefs to lose, I just can't see the Cincinnati Bengals beating them, as good as they are. But they're young. Burrow, Chase, they've got a great team. I mean, how can you go against Mahomes? And I hate saying that because, I hate the Brady comparisons. It's way too soon. But I think we're going to have the Chiefs and the Rams in Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment as well. Rams, obviously, their defense is on steroids. You have, I think, going to be the defensive player of the year in Aaron Donald. You have the best defensive lineman, Aaron Donald. You have the best cornerback in Jalen Ramsey. You got the best wide receiver in Cooper Kupp on the other side. You have, a top 5, top 7 quarterback in Matt Stafford. You got OBJ as another wide receiver, Van Jefferson. I mean, the list goes on. That team is absolutely stacked. They're built to win now. They're going to get to the Super Bowl this time, and they're going to fare a lot better than they did against the Patriots. I can definitely attest to that. Patriots, I think, had one of the best defenses in the league that year, which is why they did so poorly. And then in comes, if you have the Chiefs or the Bengals, it doesn't really matter. The Rams should light up the scoreboard against either one of those two defenses. So I think we're going to see a much better Rams in the Super Bowl. And on the AFC side, I think Chiefs go in there and get business done. Burrow, not enough experience. Jamar Chase, not enough experience. The whole team as a whole is very inexperienced, but they got a lot of talent, so you can't really count them out. But I do think the woes of the offensive line for Burrow is really going to do him in on the road in the biggest game of his entire life. I do think he might crumble a bit under the pressure. And, I feel like Andy Reid's going to throw a lot of different blitz packages at Burrow and make him rattled early and often. And obviously Mahomes, he's seasoned right now, and everybody there is seasoned and experienced. They were at the top just a few years ago. So I do think they get back there. And then we got a Rams versus Chiefs Super Bowl.
Well, we're both in agreement there, so we'll see what happens this weekend. And we will be back with another great show for you guys next week. Stay tuned to see who our next guest will be.